Hey guys, it's Wild Riley. I'm back with another video today. Sorry it's been so long. Um, this one is about 3 things that you can do to build your permaculture forest. And I might throw 1 or 2 extra bonus ones in there too. So, the number one, probably most important thing that I can say once you get all the other basics figured out is you got to learn how to clone. So right here we're looking at kind of a mix of different clones. And I've showed you these before, but it's an apple scion. We got all kinds of stone fruit mixed in here. You can see some of it starting to bloom. These are little pencil-sized twigs that I gathered when they were dormant and just put them in the fridge. And we got the Pinot Noir, different types of grapes. Grapes are really good starter thing to clone. So when you go to the store, buy a small fruit tree, but buy it for the genetics, and then learn to clone it. Especially some of the more open source varieties. There's some specialty varieties that are kind of patented. I would respect the patents, but if you're propagating a couple extra trees from when you bought, like, to me, I don't think that's a big problem because it's your tree. Do as you will with it, right? But if you start selling those clones and undermining the patent of the producer, that's kind of messed up. So just be ethical about it. So yeah. But cloning can take 1 pomegranate tree, these are pomegranates, and it can make hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds of them. And since you already have to prune your trees, master cloning. So these are, as you can see, they're just the 17 or 20 gallon utility totes, and I drilled 4 holes in the bottom so that they can drain easy. And I figured out how to clone pomegranate, and it took me a year or 2 to really get the hang of it. And how do you like me now? So it doesn't take a lot. A bag of potting soil, aerated soil. You can use other things like perlite, but I find that just sterile potting soil works the best. And you can see how learning to clone is a major force multiplier. On sale, each one of these little scions, once it's rooted, when they're on sale, are $4 each. Usually they're more like $6 or $8 a piece. And look at there, a little native pollinator. It's kind of called. It's a fly that looks just like a bee. I don't know if you can see that guy. Right there. There we go. But yeah, the ability to clone is a force multiplier. Major. Pinot Noir on the Central Coast and even up into the North Bay area. Pinot Noir grows. It likes these kind of foggy, cold nights and warm, balmy days. And the cool thing about grapes is they have these roots. They don't have a taproot. They have long roots that go way deep into the ground. And they bring up all the soil nutrients and water to the surface, increasing your biomass, both in the ground and above the ground as you prune them. And then if you grow them along your fence lines, you grow them up trees, you just grow them in a patch. You can even grow them like a tree. I've seen that. And within a few years, now you have wine grapes. And they're kind of like comfrey, elderberry. They reach way down. They're very, very drought tolerant. They like denuded, kind of sandy or granitic soil, just like junk soil that doesn't have much nourishment. And they like to fix and mitigate that. Also, don't shy away from natives. This is California sagebrush clones. So I just went out to a green patch and hacked a branch off, brought it home, and now I'm cloning California sagebrush, which isn't really a true sage, but it's a California native, and it brings in, the animals and different fauna that are accustomed to that. And it's used to growing in California soil. So when your potatoes start growing buds on them, and you can't really cook with them anymore, stick them in the dirt. You'll turn one potato into 5. Here's some citrus clones. So there's some pretty strict laws in California about cloning and moving citrus. So all the citrus clones that I make, they get planted here on the property, little 1-acre parcel. Over here, strawberries. Learn to clone and propagate your strawberries. All strawberries in here. These are seed sprouts. Kind of a special nutty flavored Middle Eastern zucchini. So yeah, you can buy some seeds and grow them, but save those seeds. Those are heirlooms. More stone fruit scions. Just a little patch of them growing in between the strawberries and tomatoes. Some black Krim, husky cherries, just different varieties for fun. The corn, that's an heirloom as well. It gets about 3 feet tall. It supposedly grows really fast, but it's been in the ground for a long time now. And it makes little ears, 2 ears per stalk, and they're tiny little sweet corn ears. So I thought that'd be fun. Maybe make the baby corn. Tomatoes. We got the creature, I call it. It's like a big, there's probably a real name for it, but it's like a summer squash. And the fruit trees, they start out as little, $20 starts or whatever. You buy them in a little 4-gallon pot, and then I grow them up. And then as I start pruning them, I'm going to be cloning them. So these are different types of lime and orange and nectarine. And so those are kind of taking up a little bit of a different tier. You got your radishes. That's a blend of all kinds of different seeds. So we got icicles and like the classic red radish, multicolored stuff. And so that one kind of gets its own patch, right? So cloning, growing your own herbs. So in between the zucchini, the green zucchini, it's all cilantro. So companion planting a little bit's always good. Those are carrots under there, different types of carrots. And I just took a Sharpie and labeled the carrot. Those are going to be purple carrots. Just took a plastic butter knife and labeled it. So, number 1, learn to clone. 2 would be, let's see, number 1 was to clone, number 2 is to be seed saving. So, if you can grow plants that you can harvest your seeds from and continually grow them, you'll build up almost like a huge stockpile. Like instead of having a little packet with 10 seeds, now you're going to have big mason jars full of seed. So like here's a good example. Right here. These are all artichoke seeds, and really, really good artichokes. Different purple ones. They're the quality artichoke seeds. Artichoke's normally a biennial, so it takes the first year to kind of set in its taproot and set up its foundation, And then year number 2 is when you get the flower, or the bud. But there's ways to kind of speed that up by adjusting the temperature and the fertilizer and stuff, where you get flowers the first year. Some more apple scions that are going to be clones. So when you clone a fruit tree like that, you're not going to get a taproot, which is a negative about not using a seed, but you are going to get the same exact genetics. So that's why here, either it came from a clone and then they grafted what they wanted on, or they started it from a seed. So you could do either way. You could start a seed in the ground and then later graft it, and then you have your taproot. It'll go deep and grab water from a lot deeper nourishment. But there's other things you can do to kind of trap water on the land, and one thing is just getting your biomass established. Getting things like your grapes, sending roots down, your elderberries, your comfrey. I like to use dock varieties. Artichokes are pretty good. Anything that sends roots down and produces a large amount of foliage on the top end. So right in here, this is a ginger root that started growing. We didn't get around to cooking all of it that one time. So we're going to have a little bit of ginger, some strawberries. So little tip, sometimes your seeds come from the kitchen. So ginger, garlic, potatoes, even the bottom of an onion where the roots are. I've grown those. Tip number 3 would be to be adaptable. So normally my garden's out in the open sun, kind of in the front yard or the backyard. The plants are directly grown in the actual ground. Problem is, I get gophers. So I also get this type of crabgrass that is just relentless. And I don't like that. It takes over. I have these big planter raised beds for planting, growing vegetables and stuff, and this rhizomal grass just completely took over, and then pretty much ruined all my hard work. So being adaptable and figuring out new ways. The majority of our produce this year is going to be grown within this little high tunnel here. In these totes that you can just, if you have a problem, I could just drag it out the front, dump it out underneath the tree, completely improve the soil around the base of that tree, put fresh soil in and replace it, right? And I'm not out much, but maybe a few bags of planting or potting soil. And this potting soil is actually from the landfill. Do a good job of making it. It's sterile. That portion of the landfill is all green waste, and then I think it's like granite rock or someone produces it. So learn to clone. Like this avocado here in the middle, I got to cut a hole open in the top of the greenhouse to let it through. That was from an avocado that we ate, and we grew the pit. Learn to clone, repurpose your vegetables from your kitchen, your fruit and vegetable seeds or starts. Save your seeds. Try to grow heirlooms. Be adaptable. And you'll find a lot of abundance. Get tomatoes. So you can see it's scalable. You can start out as small as a little vegetable rack of cloned tomatoes. There's a variety of different types in there. You can do a little pot like on your awning if you're in an apartment. Start cloning different types of fruit and vegetables. And if you don't have a place to grow them, you can give them to friends and family that do. And then as time goes on, maybe your situation can change, or maybe you've just enriched, your life and the life of somebody else. These are all cloned tomatoes. And that's exactly how they do it. They'll grow a mother plant and then they clone them into little 6-pack, 8-pack carriers, whatever. And then they're ready. There's already fruit at ground level here because it's a clone. So now I'm not wasting time growing these long, leggy seed starts. Watch, I'll show you an example of a seed start. Nothing wrong with a seed start, but it takes a lot more time before you get fruit. And when you're buying them individually, it starts to add up. But this guy was grown from a seed. See how it's like 2 feet tall and it hasn't even started flowering yet? Same with that guy. You can grow natives of coastal live oak. A bunch more cloned tomatoes. Peruvian lily clone. Black walnut grown from a walnut. We have more clones here. That's the biggest one, I'd say, is the cloning. This whole potato patch right back here. Those are all potatoes that began growing in the bag because we stored them too close to an onion. And I just raked up the leaves and some of the stormwater, kind of sandy stormwater runoff, and mixed with the leaves. I just filled in all the trenches in here, and then look at the potatoes. We're going to get a lot of potatoes this year. And here's a bag that I forgot to pick up. Ruby Sensation bite-sized potatoes. Those are the German type grow here, or whatever, the kind of colder climate ones do good here. But there are a few russets, and I've grown fingerlings in the greenhouse. And so here's an example of the elderberry. I planted this, maybe 2-3 years ago. It's very young. And I prune it all the way back to a stick. So that's the trunk, and all those green shoots came off of the main central one. All which are clonable, all which are very useful for making blow dart guns. You can make a flute. You can use them as stakes to, hold up young trees. You can build fence pickets with them. You can make a spear with it. They're just like a good resource. And then when I prune everything, all that biomass goes whoosh, right on the ground. I've grown different varieties of cactus, medicinal cactus like aloe vera. That's going to greatly improve your yard. It's a hummingbird attractor when it blooms. It's low water usage, and it just wants to grow here. So, and then the little pups at the bottom, those guys you can crack off and then move it to a new spot and continually grow them. Just like paddle cactus, just like anything. And so throughout the yard I got all these elderberries growing, and it creates more privacy, it creates a grove effect. But like I said, it's also kind of copicing the land and bringing life back into the soil and life above the soil. So I hope that helps. Those are my 3 main tips. Clone, be adaptable, and save your seeds. Repurpose your garden vegetables, or your vegetables from your kitchen. Wad Riley out.